Hey everybody, welcome to our Connect and Grow podcast. Today we're talking about running your disability business in particular and looking at a couple of strategies that you could do as part of setup for long-term success, as well as looking at the fundamentals of what it's really like to run a business in the disability sector. So thanks for tuning in. One of the things that happens when a lot of people contact me wanting to set up and run a successful disability business is that they don't think about the long-term impacts. They're more looking at, I don't like where I'm working, I want the freedom of my own business, I heard that you can make a lot of money. These are the common things that I hear. Now, as someone that's studied business compliance, business coaching, a few of the things, and quality auditing as well, a couple of the things that come up for me when I hear these things is, what about understanding the fundamentals or the foundations of running a business? One of the things I was always taught is when you're setting your prices as a business owner to actually think about what's the average hourly rate that I want to pay myself, and that includes covering my taxes, my super, those kind of things, not work cover, but just basically taxes, wages, and super. Those three things. So how much money do I require to pay myself hourly? Now, if your response to that is including super, including taxes, roughly $50 an hour, then what you would be looking at is basically tripling that. This is what I learned when I was learning all about business coaching, and even we touched on this kind of thing in business compliance, is that you would set your hourly rate for your services then at roughly $150, because the $100 is going to cover things like insurance, your systems for your business, maybe a website, maybe business insurance, like those other things that your business requires. It's going to help you start to replenish some of the money you've spent on your documents, your policies and procedures, and maybe even a business coach or a consultant, someone like that. When you think about it, $100 doesn't go a long way for your business expenses. But here's the thing. In the NDIS, the prices are capped. So usually, as I said, when we work with the business, and I learned in setting my prices, whatever my hourly rate is, gross plus super, and then triple it, and that's what I charge. Depending if my business expenses are a lot higher, I might put it up a lot higher. It really depends. But in the disability sector, you can't do that. If you're paying your staff, if you, under the award, are having to pay your staff $40, $50 per hour, including that super and their tax, so gross plus super, what you're looking at is not able to multiply that by 3. You're only looking at the capped rate, which could be $67, $68 per hour, give or take. Always check the most current pricing arrangement for the NDIS for that. Always check the most current SHADS award, because things are subject to change. And superannuation changes every year from the 1st of July here in Australia. So really, when you think about it from, say, a support worker perspective, if the maximum that you can invoice and the person actually agrees to pay it is, say, $67 an hour, and you're paying out to your staff their gross wage plus super, you're paying them, say, $38, $40 an hour. Sure, you may be left with, let's say you're paying them $37 an hour with everything else included, you're left with $30 per hour. Now, that might sound like a lot, but as I've said in other videos, you've then got the app that you're using for rostering. Out of this $30 that you've got left, and actually it's probably not even that, to be honest, it's probably closer to the $20 that's left, because you also have to pay work cover, as I said, your rostering app, your business insurance, there might be travel in that, there might also be split shift allowance in that you're having to pay that you can't invoice for. You may have admin teams, so you've got to pay their wages out of that. And at this stage, you as the business owner have not got any money yourself, and the business potentially hasn't made any profit. So what we're seeing at the moment in April 2025 is that businesses are struggling to keep their doors open, because not only have they got all of those expenses, but they've got their own phone expenses, they've got their own internet expenses. They've got so many different other expenses. Then we add on top of that, workers might say, well, in petrol, it costs me this much money, so it's not worth me working for someone else. I can get more money if I work for myself. But the other key factor that's really important in all of this is to look at that if you choose to go out on your own as a sole trader, you've got your business set up with your documents, policies, and procedures, ideally, so that you can adhere to work health and safety obligations to provide a safe work environment for yourself and a safe environment to the person, the NDIS code of conduct to keep the person safe and meet your duty of care. How do you do all of that? By doing a risk assessment of some description, documenting that. How are you going to do your service agreement, your business insurance, maybe, hopefully, your superannuation, or at least some savings for when you don't get paid for whatever reason, because there's going to be days that you don't get paid. One of the biggest things I want you to remember is that even though you are going to be paid with the funding from NDIS as part of the National Disability Insurance Scheme, there's a couple of things to remember. You may not always get paid. You just may not get paid. And that can happen for a couple of reasons. There's no funding left, and nobody told you, so you kept providing services. There's the participant or their family member decides, nope, we're not happy with your services, so please don't pay them with NDIS funding. That then becomes a civil matter. And if it becomes a civil matter and you get a lawyer and you take them to small claims court, they might not be able to afford to pay you. They're the primary reasons why you might not get paid. That capped amount of $67, $68 an hour, or whatever it is when you're watching this, that is the maximum at this moment in time. This information is correct in 2025, subject to change. But that capped amount is the maximum. A participant or their family member might say, nope, we're happy to pay you $50 an hour. And you might think, well, that's not enough because I've got to pay my petrol, I've got the cost of living, I've got to pay my tax, maybe superannuation, business insurance. I just spent out $2 or $3, $4, $5 on documents, whatever you spent on that. I need to make some money in. This has all got to cover me. The other thing is, if a person decides to leave your services, so they don't want your services anymore, you're going to be out of pocket until you can find a new participant, a new person to provide services to. These are things that a lot of businesses in the disability sector don't think about. They think that it's reliable income, that it's definitely going to happen, that they're definitely going to get paid. They all, like the businesses I think of that contact me on a regular basis are like, yeah, I heard you can make a lot of money. And I'm like, the cost model is maybe $2 to $3 per hour is maybe profit, maybe, depending on your business expenses. They went, but can't you charge a lot of money? And I said, not for what you would be paying out in wages. No, it's actually not that big. And as we said, we've got systems that you want to put in place. This is unlike any other business model. When someone comes to me and they're a personal trainer and they want business coaching, then we can look at what is the average that the average personal trainer is paying, what are the overhead expenses, and there is no cap. There is no maximum. They want to charge $100 an hour and someone's willing to pay them $100 an hour, then they can go ahead and do that. There is no cap in other industries outside of aged care, health. Even health doesn't have caps. It has a maximum that Medicare will cover or private health insurance will cover. But aged care, obviously home care packages do, NDIS does. Now, where things are going in the future is really unknown, because there's been discussions around the growth of the NDIS, that it has to slow down to a minimum, like to 8%, that they're looking at the eligibility. So who's actually eligible for the NDIS? Why is this important? Because this goes into your marketing strategy. You set up your business, you're now fully aware of the cost model, the cost center, you get your documents, policies, and procedures so you can protect yourself as a business owner. And now you want to attract clients. And we have a 3-step strategy that works every single time. And it's a little bit of work that you're going to do. And in the issue 20 of Connect and Grow magazine, so the May edition 2025, you can actually access this resource for free. It's all listed. We've talked about it. And we call it CES, so Connect, Empower, Soar. And this little strategy, I've been working with clients for over probably the last 10 years doing this, and redefining it, reassessing it, redeveloping it all the time. So Connect, Empower, Soar, as you know, is also the words that we use for my business as well. And it's about connecting to your purpose first. Why is it that I want this business? It's about connecting to your ideal client. Who are they? I'm not for everybody. So who is it that I want to attract in? And once again, coming back to your why. And then we look at the E part is about empowerment. So feeling empowered in your message, feeling that you know that you have clarity in your message. So this is where also your business personality type can come in, nailing that messaging. And also how you're engaging people. And a huge part of that is more, and this is one of the strategies that I love, absolutely love above all marketing strategies, is to be able to actually sit and have a conversation one-to-one with somebody, really hear them and get to know them. They might not sign up to your services straight away, but those meet and greets are the most powerful way, outside of offering value to people to show that you can be trusted. Those meet and greets are one of the most empowering tools that you can use. And we talk about that in this little strategy. So you get a little checklist, you get a little breakdown of it, and also some content that you can listen to, or you can just, look at the screen. But one of the biggest things that we do with it is the next part. So you've connected to purpose, you've connected to the messaging of your business, which we developed even more, so you're really clear about it, your ideal client of who you want to attract. You're going to engage in some meet and greets. And then the next part is how you then move that person through into the next phase of your business. If it's NDIS, signing up as that participant so you can work with them. Maybe you're going to collaborate with another provider and you're going to run an event together. But also always coming back to, who is this for? What is it all about? Knowing that showing people that you are friendly, you are approachable, and that you're really actually interested in them. And then the S bit with the soaring as well is that so you can soar, but so you can have success, whatever that means to you. And you can continue to have other strategies that are part of, eventually, potentially selling your services or providing your services or selling your product, depending on who you are and what you're doing as your business. But in NDIS, you're not so much you are selling your services, because technically, as NDIS put it, the person's buying those services from you. And you want to show that you're going to show up, that you're actually really interested in them. And look at the strategies around the language that you use as well. And a huge part of this is that you can say we're person-centered. And then the person says, well, I only want to work with a male that's in his 20s. And you're like, well, we've only got females. Okay, but would you be open to hiring a male so that this is what this person is comfortable with? This is the type of work that they want, or are you going, yep, okay, thank you for that, but we're still going to send you this person? you're not being overly person-centered if you're just going to say, yep, thanks for that, we've taken it on board, we don't have anyone at this stage, and leave it at that. Or you open it up to, let's see if we can actually hire somebody to meet those person's preferences. This is something that you can also start to learn at the meet and greet, so you know if this person is right for your business now. Or maybe you could say, look, we'd love to support you. Let us work on getting that right support worker for you. We currently don't have. And even if you have to say that, that is transparency. That's showing that you've heard them, that you want to help them, you want to work with them around the services that they require and the ideal person that they feel safe to work with. That is the true essence. When you say that you're a trusted provider, exactly what does that mean? And how do you demonstrate that to your potential clients? I could say, I'm a trusted coach, but how would you know? What does trust mean to me? And what does it mean to you? And are they the same thing? So basically, when you are setting up your business, it can be exciting. It can be, freedom's right there ready for me. But what I suggest you do, especially if you're wanting to enter into the disability sector, if you're wanting to stay in the disability sector long term, is a couple of things. Set your business up properly. Have your documents, your policies, procedures. They protect your business. They really do. We do have them available. If you want to look at that, sure, check that out. Have a proper marketing strategy, a business plan, and also financial planning as well for your business. Know what it's going to cost you to run this business. Know what the ongoing costs are for your business and go into it with a really clear strategy in mind. Okay, you can reach out to someone like myself or another coach if you're struggling to set up a business plan. Things like that, they're really straightforward, but sometimes you need just a little bit of support to break it down a bit further. That's super okay. In fact, it's always good to ask for support because maybe you've never done one before. I remember the first time I did it, I was like, to do a business plan, what does it even look like? Mind you, it was 15 years ago, so things have changed since then, and you've got access to new resources. Get your message really clear about your business and who is your ideal client, because we are not for everybody, and that is perfectly okay, because that means that there is plenty of work for everybody. But I will say in the disability sector, it is rather limited. There's only, 690,000 participants, and that's subject to change. That's subject to decrease if they bring in a really strict criteria. That's subject to change. The cost, because the pricing is capped, so you can only charge X amount per hour, but the cost of living's going up, insurance is going up, superannuation's going up, tax sometimes goes up. There's so many things to factor in. So make an informed decision by getting all the data and sitting down. If you're looking to hire staff, how much is it going to cost you? What's the outgoings versus the ingoings? Why am I doing this? What is your purpose for running this business? Is it for financial gain, so to make a lot of money? Is it because you absolutely love working with people? You're very person orientated. You love to work with people. You love to help them. You love to support them, to live a quality life. You're so passionate about, helping somebody to achieve their goals. And money is second. Everybody deserves to get paid. One of the things is to know your people and your tribe, so to speak. And by that, I mean that there's going to be people out there that are going to tear you down. There's going to be people that are oh, you're just doing this for money. There's going to be people that are going to be negative about what you do. And this is why your why and your purpose is so important, because with every challenge that we face in running our own business, whatever it is, there's going to always be people that have a go at you, that want to tear you down, that want to take your ideas. And this is frustrating and annoying, but when you have awareness that it's going to happen, you're able to sit back and say, all right, I know it's going to happen. I'm just going to let them be. That they can think what they think. They can, if I know that I'm right, if I can back up what I'm saying, if I've done the study, the qualifications, I've gone to uni, I've gone and done a diploma, and I know that what I'm saying is right, then, and just then, you know that you can make an informed choice to just ignore them. There's always going to be people out there that when you share information tell you you're fear-mongering, because that's on them. That's a reflection of them. So when you're setting up your disability business, when you're running your disability business, especially NDIS, keep an eye out for all the news alerts. Keep your eye out for the project groups. So there's lots of groups that actually are part of consultations, and they're going to share information on how things could look. It's worth having that information, because then you know potentially what is coming. The government has already said, after the NDIS review was done, mandatory registration for all providers. They've already said that. It's just now a matter of that timing, and with the election coming up and things like that, you know, we don't know which political party is going to get in. We don't know what changes are going to happen. We do know that both parties have indicated that they need to spend less on the NDIS, whatever that looks like. And we do know that mandatory registration has been called for by a lot of different people, including what came out in the review. The task force for registration recommended mandatory registration for all providers. They haven't veered off that. They just haven't made the announcements, but they have said those announcements will come from July 1st. And they're starting with a particular cohort, and then they're going to move through the different people, but we just need to wait and hear more. The navigator role was recommended in the review. It might not necessarily be specifically in the legislation as such, but part of that is because it wasn't going to sit within the NDIS. The review recommended it sitting outside of the NDIS. The NDIS have sent out in a newsletter, introducing the NDIS Navigator. Okay, what does that look like? We still don't know. And then there's been the discussions in National Cabinet around recommending that the states and territories, as well as federal government, share the amount that it costs to run the NDIS. And with that came the discussions again around foundational supports. And behind the scenes, there is a lot of working parties going on connected to all of this. Little bits and pieces. There's a hub now developed where people, and foundational support sits outside of the NDIS. And there's a hub being set up, and it includes where people can link in to actually start finding services, and that's people with health, with aged care, with disabilities can actually connect there to start connecting with community resources, supports, and things like that. So when you're starting your business as a disability provider, whatever that is, or service provider if you like, take the time to really get clear. We have some guides and resources on the website. You can also look at the marketing strategy or the business growth and sustainability idea, but always do your math. If you're stepping into the NDIS thinking you're going to make a lot of money, I encourage you to do the math. Don't take my word for it. Go through the pricing arrangement, which is a capped price. As I said earlier, this and My Aged Care, they have capped amounts, but every other business can charge whatever they like. And it's usually, and we learnt this in study, it's usually 3 times the hourly rate that you're going to pay your staff or yourself. That's what you would normally set your fees at, your prices at. But having said that, a lot of businesses in NDIS can't even double it because they're paying their staff maybe $40 an hour plus super, and that's a casual rate, and all they can invoice is maybe a maximum of $67, $68 an hour, roughly, depending on the pricing arrangement. So do the math, do it for every aspect of it. So whatever your services are, I just touched on one. Obviously, you can download and access the pricing guide or pricing arrangement. It's on the website. But at the end of the day, make an informed decision, and please set your business up right to protect yourself. Your documents, your policies and procedures actually protect your business. Doing risk assessments also protects your business. They are a blessing because you know what to do when things, incident management, complaints management, risks management. These things are there and designed to protect you and your business, and be very clear on how you provide your services. Doing it yourself, using templates where you adapt them to represent your business, is the most empowering thing that you can do. And then knowing how to connect with people to grow your business, attract the right people. Meet and greets are the best. They stand out more than anything else because you make a personal connection with somebody. You get to know, are they for me? Am I for them? And they can be so much fun. At the end of the day, I encourage you to have some fun. If you like a bit of support, if you want to know a bit more, feel free to reach out. If you want some more tips, tools, and strategies about business, empowerment, neurodiversity, then keep following us, follow wherever you've seen this. Look forward to hearing from you really soon. You've got this. You really do.